Fun fact, I have eaten multiple rubber balls in my childhood because I thought they were bouncy candy. Delicious. Finally some food. My life goal was to make it 360 degrees around the top bar. Yeah, I was terrified of doing this. Toddlers can't tie shoes. Have to wear Velcro instead. Toddlers when they see a tablet. When you were younger and you did this in the shower. 2006 internet jokes that still make me laugh. Connect 1. Thinking about these ancient relics. What are these? Am I too young? Bio says 34. You're too old. I found my old iPod Touch from when I was 12 with 11 different Slenderman apps installed. When I grow up, I want to be a mailbox. 8-year-old me, after switching all the caps from my friends' colored markers. POV, you're 10 years old, and it's the 50th time you do this slide. Your knees and elbows are on fire, but the boys are waiting on the top. Feld, might delete later. Me, when I suddenly get emotions. I find it so funny that the reason why this ad stopped showing in front of films is because they pirated the background song and got sued for it. Remember when you were 10 and you would hang out with your friends in order to look at the computer together? Like, you went to their house and experienced the information superhighway together, and then left. How old are you people? Normal amount. I will never be funnier than our preschool naming its turtle. Turtle names. Tiny Tim, Grape Tim, Big Timmy, Big Tim. Sitting on top of the tables is one of the most satisfying things. I don't even know why, but it always just feels so perfect. It's your inner rebel satisfied at the fact you are breaking a childhood rule. Thank you, science. As you got older, what did you realize? Invest in your room. That is really your sanctuary. Should have bought a house in the 2nd grade. People cry doing their math homework. Some of you never had to spend hours in the kitchen table crying as your dad shouts, "What is 3 times 7? Describe your symptoms. Brother, I have felt like this since I was 12, unrelentingly. Patrick Bateman voice. My pain is constant. Nah, 3rd grade was wild. Shorty would leave you because a dude was faster than you. Why am I nostalgic for my teenage years? Bro, I didn't even have fun. Yeah, but your back didn't hurt. My daughter asked me to spell my name so she can write it down, then hands me this. Please tell me this isn't a grave. If you've played in one of these as a kid, you're immune to the virus. I think a huge plane is crossing over my house. Wait, there are bombs! Ah! Welcome to Club Penguin. Please select your age. 8 and under, 9 to 12, 13 to 17, 18 and over. Oh yes, the ripe old age of 18 and over. Hate to ruin the fun, but penguin lifespan, 20 years. If you didn't try to stand on this underwater, you didn't go swimming as a child. Some things are more ancient than you think. I thought I lost $350. Then 3 months later, I found it in my 4-year-old's room. You may be old, but are you this old? Okay, this brought me way back. This was a big moment in my childhood. You may be old, but are you this old? Best childhood game ever. Make sure the balloon doesn't touch the floor. Were you a kid who stirred the ice cream with the spoon until it was soup, or were you normal? Sometimes. These pencils were everything. Phone battery dead? Microwave it for 2 minutes to charge. Do not do this. You may be old, but are you this old? In middle school, every girl had these in every color. This is why I'm mad. Girls nowadays don't go through this stage. It's just not right. My brain. Do it. Why? Just do it. Me. When I was younger, if you could run up the slide, you had skill. Nothing better than making dens as kids. And yes, if you didn't know the password, you weren't getting in. Don't sit too close to the TV. 2021. Who remembers doing this on the last day of school? If you had these when you were in elementary, you lived your childhood right. If your rubber has ever looked like this, you had a brilliant childhood. Back in the day, this meant get the hell home. Oh, you wanted to wash your hands for more than 4 seconds? Well, that's just too bad. Who would win? The hardest part of the human body, or some chewy boys? Your childhood wasn't lit unless you've had fun in all of these places. Hey, I nearly got to experience the bottom left. This is life-changing. 2000s babies think they invented this. 8-year-old me, 15 minutes after telling my parents I couldn't go to school because I'm sick. Is it me, or did you guys have these temporary trailers attached to your school that were only meant to stay up for like 3 years, but it ended up staying for like 30? A California king isn't enough. We need whatever this is from Superman the Animated Series. We were so happy with so little. They framed it. The meme, they framed it. No way. What was the purpose of this? Teaches you to stay in your lane. I'm so glad I was taught to play the recorder at school. It's really come in handy during my adult life. I've lost count of the times I've resolved a quick situation with a quick blast of 3 blind mice. The definition of swag in 1999. This kid's probably a millionaire right now. If he kept the cards and didn't sell them. Who remembers writing using finger spaces? I remember using my finger as a ruler when I lost my ruler. The struggle was real. In the 90s, you could say, "Excuse me," instead of of "excuse me" and get a laugh. It was wild. What's the hardest thing about growing up? Watching your parents get old. Who remembers this? I'd be on yellow and almost have a heart attack, while some kids would get to red and still not care. Quick and easy iPhone speaker. I just use my mouth. You know you're getting old when you can no longer eat the icing on a cupcake. I've been old my whole life then. Unless it's whipped cream icing. What is this? It actually looks pretty dope to me. As long as they have the same voices. Y'all weren't there. Nope, I was there. And I also had to sit on a special seat, like with bubbles on it. I was f***ed up. The 4 horsemen of controversial foods. Pineapple on pizza is the only one which I'll enjoy. There is no goal with these things, just vibes. Everyone's grandma had a bowl of these, for no reason. We used to be a real country. A proper country. Does anyone else remember how absolutely unreal these were? I didn't really like them. Hey guys, wanna feel old? I'm 40, you're welcome. Peter Pan was an angel that held kids' hands on their way to heaven. Neverland. That's why they never grow up. All those kids were dead. Boom. Childhood ruined. 7-year-old girl. I love airports because they are like magic gateways to all the other places. Mom. Yes, they are. You could be a pilot when you grow up. No, that's boring. I want to be a suitcase. It's 1987. You've just been dropped off at the mall. What's the first store you're hitting first? I don't know. I wasn't born at this time. Maybe... like an arcade or something. This is what happens when kids grow up and get adult money, just when you thought all your fries were gone. A little McMiracle happens. You have a dentist appointment. Me. Kids now complaining about waiting 5 seconds for Netflix to load. Meanwhile, we had to live through this. So few people talk about this show. I'm sometimes convinced I hallucinated it. Mum. Mark got into med school, Jim went to Mars, and Gary made an app for dogs. What did you ever accomplish? Me. No tears, my bird. This was like acid. What was even the point of this, other than running over fingers? 90s kids didn't have Tinder. We had this. Do you like me? Yes. No. Maybe. This is the house that Up was based on. It's in Seattle and was owned by a lady named Edith, who was a spy in World War II. This is why it was a mistake to replace all the old 70s metal playgrounds with safety plastic. Iron. You need iron or else. You know you're old when you remember as a child going to play with the computer meant drawing on paint, and it was awesome. And you always drew one of these bad boys and then filled it in. It's abstract art. This is honestly what I look like in my mind's eye. Some of you may get this. This is weird, but I remember the name of my best friend on Halo Reach back in 2012. Found him on Steam because he probably used the same name as his Steam account and added him. Oh my gosh, Kiwi. Yeah, it's me. So it turns out that he's lived 7 minutes away from my house in this state for the past 6 years. It's enough to make a grown man cry. Lol, you play Fortnite? Sorry, I only play real games. You also stare at the bathroom tiles and find images of faces and animals. The 80s, where a kid would blow their birthday candles over the top of an ashtray a foot away from an open beer, while someone held a lit cigar next to their face. Perfect Peter, always looking like he's about to drop a speech about why the working class should be hunted for sport. Who was more delusional? If you think Candace was delusional, you were not paying attention to the show. When I was in elementary school, we learned about a shape called a rhombus, and that was the last time I ever heard about that shape, ever again. I asked my 5-year-old what she wanted for dinner, and she said, not a burnt quesadilla, because in the summer of 2019, I overcooked one side of her quesadilla. Original Xbox. Toys R Us Times Square Shop, 2001. Remember, this is for children. The character designs should be safe and simple. Staff. Sure, boss. The Zoomer millennial age cutoff is whether you remember this. Images that capture 90s and early 2000s elementary schools. Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, I remember that clock. That is weird thinking about it. If you played with these, your childhood was lit. Too many of you have strayed from these core tenets. You can use the internet for sports scores, chatting with women, taxes, football scores, chatting with men about football, Egyptian literature, sending electronic mail, 60s kids, grandma called, 70s kids, gran called, 80s kids, granny called, 90s kids, grandmother called, kids now. Out on a stroll today, someone was blocking the sidewalk, and my 3-year-old muttered, "This frickin' guy." In case you were wondering what toddlers from Brooklyn are like, I worked with these toddlers and preschoolers for 3 years. Sometimes I accidentally slip and tell a friend to say bye to an inanimate object. Say bye, bus, and occasionally they unthinkingly just do it. I'm glad there's a teacher version of accidentally called teacher mum. When I worked at medieval times, occasionally I would slip in real life and call people my lord. When did Freddo Frog go from a nice looking gentleman to a sadistic creature looking to eat your children? Cigarettes, it's what's for dinner. Okay, yay. Having one of these for about 3 years because the juice never ran out. Huh? 3 years? What the? Who made this? The fear of getting your name clipped on red. The 90s and thousands were built different because we really had classrooms full of these mini guillotines. If you did this, you had a wonderful childhood. You can only save one. Which one are you saving? CBeebies, BBC, Nickelodeon Jr., and Disney. Probably Disney. The good old days of McDonald's starter pack. The bottom right I remember. They were so fun. Soon, future generations won't know our ancient civilizations. Toys R Us and Blockbuster. When you and your friend are at your neighbor's door because you kicked your ball over the fence. The most important thing I've learned in life, and I can't stress this enough, you gotta make a salad in a bigger bowl than you think. I was today years old when I found out the bottom of a Gatorade Frost bottle is made to hold the cap. When your mum buys candy for the house and you have to hide a bunch from your siblings, who would win? Matilda versus 11. People are really saying 11 would win. I am perplexed. She had training and could barely wiggle a truck. Matilda's skills were sharp and precise. She had kids flying, electricity going crazy, multiple objects moving simultaneously. 11 doesn't want the smoke, just whipping up a little something. Call me Chef Boy, Yatid. 4 ancient evils, sealed away, forgotten by time. Those who remember hope the future will never know their wrath. People my age know immediately what this is. I remember Cartoon Network had a sweepstake where you entered for a chance to win Kevin's car from the movie. A 14-year-old kid won, and they delivered it to his high school. He's 37 now, and apparently still drives it. These were considered iPhones back in the day. I never got this, I was never this old. Do you remember when this was your only problem? When you saw this, you knew the movie was going to be lit. Today's kids will never know how lit crossover episodes were. I found that my grandma still has a vintage washing machine from the early 60s. There's a quote from Bird where he says he's known Big Bird since he was a little bird. And the thought of it makes my heart cry, so here's that. The Avengers. Yeah, okay. This makes me so happy. That's a very good, clear message here that is surprisingly hard to articulate. You go, dragon, you go. Disney died when they stopped doing this. Don't step to Miss Frizzle, unless you can pull at least 4 or 5. I am officially, they don't make music like this no more, years old. Yeah, I think we're going a bit too far back now. Remember that show about the ancient Chinese cats? There was a long point in my life where I could not for the life of me find any information about this show anywhere on the internet, and I was convinced I had hallucinated the whole thing. Trying to make them stop crying before you get in trouble. Shush, bruh, you can hit me back. It was an accident. You're an accident. These girls are hypocrites. They were literally an accident in a laboratory. What? Who do they think they are? Couldn't sleep last night. I kept thinking about how the Green Ranger had a dagger that was a flute that sounded like a synthesizer that's trying to sound like a trumpet, and he blew into it with his helmet on. You're too young if you don't know where this cake is from. Is it Max and Ruby? What are acceptable lies you can tell to your kids? When I was younger, my dad told me that the Titanic had a huge shipment of mayonnaise on board, and that it sunk on the 5th of May. That's why we celebrate the Cinco de Mayo on May 5th. One time when I was like 6 or 7, I was hanging out with a friend on one of these, and he told me a joke so funny, God, I wish I could remember, that I lost control and pissed myself. But I was on the upside, so my pee stream trickled down and wet his pants, and I couldn't stop laughing as I watched it happen. Even when he noticed I had peed my pants and got off, sobbing, I couldn't stop cackling. I hit the ground and rolled off, giggling and probably still pissing myself. I peed someone else's pants. I never saw that kid again. Sorry, kid. Thank you for sharing your story. They built a physical model of the island while developing the Lego Island video game. 1997. Kids today will never understand the struggle of losing this light. I am not that old. Wearing this hat grants a +7 Halo 3 multiplayer proficiency. Okay, I never really got into Halo. If you got into Halo, I'm sure you understand this, but I didn't. For those who watched Nickelodeon, who wins a fight in their prime? Jade was goth. Sam is a literal threat to national security. Kids today will never know what it was like to take a ton of pictures and have to wait a week to find out they were useless. Nickelodeon Studios 20 years ago versus Nickelodeon Studios today. This is depressing. Today's kids will never know how we were the original GPS right from the passenger side. And you better had read fast and correct. Print me the MapQuest directions before we leave. Oh, next time your internet doesn't work, you get the little chrome dinosaur. Click in the window and press spacebar for a little jumpy cactus game. People didn't know about this. I think I just downloaded this because I was so surprised people didn't understand it. It's not really a childhood meme, but yeah. What?